Hello and welcome back to A Year of Miracles. We are on lesson 335. And the idea for today is I choose to see my brother's sinlessness. And a couple things are arising for this. I choose to see my sister's sinlessness. I choose to see everyone's sinlessness. It's a kind of a subtle thing that's being pointed at in the text here that Sammy actually did talk about like being in the dream and we can choose what dream we're seeing. It says, um, I never see my brother as he is, for that is far beyond perception. So we're always seeing what we choose to see. And here's the thing about the mirror of others, the mirror of other people. We take on a role, the character. Me, Karina, the character, the avatar, I will take on a role. And a lot of the times it's just one that I've taken on unconsciously. So it's like, again, through these snapshots, we talked about the snapshots. So it's like, I'll just use myself, the little self, Karina, as an example. It's like I took on this role of victim, for instance, right? Well, in order for me to accurately play out the role of victim, the other people I'm seeing in my mirror have to play the supporting role to victim. They have to match my role in order for me to identify as victim. For me to identify as a daughter, I have people playing that supporting role, my mother, my father, you know, to that identification of daughter. When you pick a role, the others in the mirror of reality play the supporting roles to the role that you're playing out in your reality. And yes, we can choose different roles. Yes, we can drop old roles. And you'll see that again, people will appear in your reality. Others will appear in your reality in the mirror of reality to support the role that you've taken on, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And so and so we I forget I don't that's what that was coming through. That's what's coming through. So so when we see our okay, so I'll let this thought complete itself. I don't have it in my mind, it's just coming through. So I'll just let it come through how it's meant to come through, and then we'll bring it back to the lesson. So when we see ourselves again as an ego, as limited, as victim, as all these little identities we've taken on in the character of the ego, all these other people have to play the roles, including, like I said, the aggressor, the scammer, and then we have all these grievances towards other people where regardless of what role we're taking on, the ego will see other people as either people to be above or people to be below, either people who need to be feared or people who need to be punished or people who you need to make alliances with for whatever reason, right? It's this game that we play where there's these other people and they're all opponents to us one way or another. Even our partners, even the people we love the most, even our kids become in a way these other characters that we have to navigate. But we can choose to see it differently. So when we see ourselves differently, when we see that our true nature, when we see our holiness, when we see our godliness, what we see in others changes. What we see in the mirror changes. The roles that other people play must change. But also it works the other way. When we start to see through the lens of forgiveness, when you start to drop the grievances, drop the stories about others and see their holiness and choose to see the God behind them, we also see ourselves being reflected in them, and it strengthens our seeing of our true nature as God, as holy, as perfect, as love. So it's this beautiful, again, it comes back to that symbol of the infinity symbol, right? It's like the way you see them affects how you see yourself, and the way you see yourself sees how you affect them. And if you can just have this beautiful amplification of light, seeing everything as God and seeing everything as holy, it brings you back home to the truth. There is only one. There's always been one, and it's all the same love, all the same joy, all the same godliness. Again, back to the lesson, I mean, that is the lesson, but back to the more subtle point, even from our true nature, we're always going to see just a perception. We're never going to be able to see God has no body. God has no image. God has no characteristics. God just is. So if we were to see just pure God, we wouldn't be seeing anything. But we are still having a human experience. We are still seeing things. So we can choose it to be reflective of, we can choose it to be a manifestation, like Sammy said, a dream, an image that is aligned with truth, with God, with love, with beauty, with joy, with abundance. That resonates, that's in the same frequency, that mirrors that. Or we can choose to see a reflection in others that mirrors grievances, that mirrors this role that we've wanted to take on. But we get to choose to see God. We get to choose to see sinlessness. We get to choose to drop grievances. We get to see that there has never been any sin in us, and therefore there's never been any sin out there. And then we get to, have this fluid reality of creation, but from that perspective, from that lens, from that knowing, from that clear seeing. I think that's it. And if any part of that's not clear, just let me know. The prayer. What could restore your memory to me except to see my brother and sister's sinlessness? Their holiness reminds me that they were created one with me and like myself. In them, I find myself, capital S. And in your child, I find the memory of you as well. Sammy?
Yeah, I love that. And you explained it all so well. It's like it's that exactly that, the infinity, isn't it? There is no separation. What you see in someone else is within you, like it is within you. Like there's no escaping that because this whole course it says there's no separation. Um, so, it actually is stupid to not see your brothers, sisters, whatever, sinlessness, because that is conflict that you are holding on to, right? So for me, this is about again just seeing beyond the story, seeing the light beyond the story, right? Um, and it says here it's not denial, it's divine sight. It's about choosing to see who to sue, to see who they really are underneath the fear, the defense, the mistake. But here's the thing that is just wild because if your reality is based purely on perspective, which it is, because it comes from you through you, then it's only your distortion that you ever need to clear. So of course you want to see the light beyond the story, right? But the ego makes you want to think that it's an attack like we've spoke about before, but as I've just said in a previous lesson, the world isn't solid. So if the world isn't solid, then neither are the people in it. So of course your brain is filtering this version of this person into your reality to show you what conflict you need to resolve to be able to see the light beyond the story, right? Everything is always serving you, always. It can be no other way. And so it's only your pain and suffering that you're holding on to. Which, you know, uh, I know that can be difficult to hear. It shouldn't, considering we're this far in the course. If it does, then that's where you need to use the tool of forgiveness, right? If someone has done you dirty, done bad things to you or whatever. Like we're not condoning them, right? We're not condoning them. But here's the thing, on some level, whether you believe it or not, you've experienced that for a reason. You have, there's no denying that because it's your reality. And whether that was to open your eyes to the truth of who you really are, whether whatever that reason is, you don't need to know, but it's your reality. And so you have to choose to see, like I said, the light beyond the story for your own sanity, right? Because, like we said before, the ego is insane. And those stories that are creating that fear, that separation, that defense is insanity because that reflection is you. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.